Good morning, class. Today I'm going to be teaching you about the concept of interest. And this is very important for anyone, really anyone, just because it's important to know about interest. Whether you're buying a car, taking out a loan, student loans, anything like that, you're going to come across interest. So we're going to start with something very simple today, and it's just a formula for interest. So let me just write it up on the board here because we're going to be using it. It's interest, which is going to be an I, equals your principal times rate times time. And I would suggest putting this into your notes because it will be very important and it will come up multiple times in this chapter. So I do apologize if some of you can't see the board very clearly. There are budget cuts this year, so all I got was this Coca-Cola chalkboard from a yard sale. So again, here's your formula. Interest equals principal times rate times time. Now if you all would just do me a favor and turn to page 309 in your textbook. Again, budget cuts, so you may have this paper one with that you have to put in a binder yourself. So we're going to be going to example number 1, and there are 3 little examples there. We're going to start with example A, and it says your principal is $4,000. Your rate is 7%. And your time is 2¼ years. Can everybody see that? We've got your principal 4,000, your rate is 7%, and your time is 2¼ years. So now the next step is that we will just plug this into our formula here, and we've got interest, I, equals $4,000. Which is your principal here, times your rate, which is 7%. And don't forget, class, when we're dealing with percentages here and we're plugging them into formulas like this, we're going to always want to change them into a decimal format at this point. So 7% as a decimal is 0.07. Right, everyone? Okay. And then our time, we're also going to put in a decimal format, so it would be 2.25 for 2¼ years. So our principal, 4,000, times our rate, 0.07, times our time, which is 2.25. So now all that's left to do is plug that on into your calculator, 4,000 times 0.07, again with the budget cuts. Look at this cheap calculator. Times 2.25. And what did everyone get? I got 630. You did too? Okay, good. That sounds about right. So $630. So what that means is that you're taking out a loan for whatever reason for $4,000. Your interest rate is 7%, and you have it for 2.25 years. You're going to be giving the bank $630 over that time period. Did everyone manage to follow along with that problem? Okay, great. Well, let me just do another one for you because it's a little bit different. I'll keep our formula here, but I'll erase this part. There, again with the budget cuts, I have to use a paper towel here instead of an eraser. Is it really that expensive to buy an eraser? I don't know. Let me just get a drink of water here, if I can find it. No, I guess not. I guess we can't have water either. Okay, I'll just go on to the next problem. So on the next one, problem 1B, our principal is $45,000. Our rate is 9.75%. And our time, now this is how it is different. Our time is 3 months. So in this example, we are speaking about months instead of years. So I'll show you how to do that, but let's start out our formula here. So we have I equals 45,000 times our rate, which is 0.0975 times our time. Okay, so if this would have been in years like the previous example, we would have just done times 3 if it was years. But we need to think of this in months, as in a portion of a year. So 3 months, if you can't think of it easily, it would be out of 12 months in a year, so it would be the 3 months over the 12 months. Or you can reduce that down and it would be a quarter. And if you reduce that into decimal, it would be 0.25. So let's just put that as 0.25, just to make it easier. So now everything is all set up nicely. We have our principal of 45,000, our rate of 0.0975, and our time 0.25, or a quarter of a year. So let's put that into our calculator. 45,000 times 0.0975 times 0.25. And we get 1,096.875. And we are going to round that up to 88. So $1,096.88. Does everyone understand that now? So if it's years, we can just multiply it by the number of years. If it's months, we are going to convert it to the portion of the year. So in this case, 3 months was a quarter of a year. And even if it's, for example, if it's in weeks, you would just do the same thing. Like if it was 10 weeks, you would do 10 over 52, because there are 52 weeks in a year. Is everyone following along so far? I hope so. Oh, there's my water over there. Let me just erase this again before moving on. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to introduce to you guys, do you mind if I erase this too? Does everyone have that written down? Okay. Great. Okay. So the next thing that I'm going to introduce to you guys is exact interest and ordinary interest. So this is just different ways that banks calculate interest. So some of them go by a year as 365 days, which, you know, makes sense. And some banks go by 360 days, which is ordinary interest. So in these problems, if it doesn't state that it's going to be a simple interest, you are always going to just assume that it's the ordinary interest for 360 days. So using that formula that we had before, the interest equals principal times rate times time, for the time portion, if it's exact interest, it is going to be time, or T, equals, and it's going to be the number of days of loan number of days of loan over 365, or 365 days in the year. And if it's ordinary, it's going to be the same thing, but you guessed it. I'll just put quotes there. The same thing, but 360 on the bottom. Simple. Okay, just make sure you have that in your notes, because it will come up on the test. So if you would like to go on over to page 310 now, and we are going to be on example number 2. So example number 2, we're going to be using the ordinary, we're going to be using exact interest on number 2. So this says, Joe Hale goes to a credit union and borrows $23,000 at 8% for 119 days. If the credit union calculates interest by the exact interest method, what is the amount of interest on the loan? So this is one of those word problems, so you're going to not panic, first of all, and we'll just extract the important parts. So it says that he borrows $23,000, so that is our principal. So I'm going to write that up here. So our Joe borrowed $23,000 and it was at 8%. So let's write that 8% up there as our rate. And it was for 119 days. 119 days. And remember from our last thing we were just talking about, if it is exact interest, we're going to be having the time over 365. So it's 119 over 365. And then we're just going to use that same formula again. Interest equals 23,000 times our 8%, 0.08, times our time, 119 over 365. Now, when I'm putting these in my cheap ass calculator, I like to go backwards. So 119 divided by 365, and you get this long decimal 0.3260 blah blah. Okay, so just keep that in your calculator and then hit the multiply by 0.08 and then times 23,000, and I got $599 and 89 cents. Now, just for fun, let's do the same exact problem, and also it'll save me a little time so I don't have to erase the board again. But let's use this the same exact problem, but instead of doing the exact interest with the 365 days, let's do the ordinary interest with 360 days. So we'll just change that to 360. And then let's just plug that one into our calculator and see what we come up with there. So 119 over 360 times 0.08 times 23,000. And here we get $608.22. So you can see why most banks prefer using the ordinary interest method here, because they get more money. And it might not seem like that much, $599.89 to $608.22, but you have to think, if they're getting this from so many people, it really starts to add up there, doesn't it? Right. Okay. Well, that will be the end of our lesson today. And I hope you all understood what I was talking about. And I mean, I have won awards every year for my teaching. But I want you all to have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Bye-bye.